Hey YouTube, there is 1 week left in the season and we are at a weird spot right now because there are still people pushing for Legend, but there's so much hype for the next season and the move changes that I've got to kind of balance both. So we're still going to do the top teams for this season in case you're still trying to grind to Legend in the last week. But with these teams, what I'm going to do is be like, this Pokemon's nerfed, this Pokemon's buffed, this won't work because of this, and I'll think about new ideas that potentially the team can work next season, or it's just like you got to scrap it. Because here's the rankings for the old, right? Your Registeel, your Annihilape, your Skarmory, your Mantines, your Glygars, they were everywhere. They're on every team. And oh, hello. That's not what we're looking at next, right? We got Clodside, the new #1. We got Dunsparce and Gastrodon up there. We got Machamp with the new Karate Chop. We got Clefable with the buff Fairy Wind. Pangoro, right? So it's a completely different meta next season. That is not to just discount all these teams, because some teams still work. Some teams you just need to like sub in one Pokemon. And this is a perfect example of a team that like you can probably just sub one Pokemon and it will work to a certain extent, because you can't just go straight Machamp or Pangoro here, and I'll explain why. So this was a team that worked very, very well for me. It was kind of like a throwback to an oldish style team. Defense Deoxys, Sableye, Dugong. Defense Deoxys on the lead, very, very strong, bulky, had good counter. Psycho Boost, you can boost and bail. Thunderbolt is a good coverage move. Then you had Sableye as your safe swap, or you had Dugong as your safe swap. You had two good safe swaps in the back. And the team is balanced. The team's got bulk. The team has coverage all around, right? You're weak to fighter with Dugong. You got two things that deal with fighters. You're weak to like Ghost on Defense Deoxys. Sableye can take care of that. So it's just kind of like you had a lot going around for it. Does this team work next season? Well, 2 of the 3 are the same. Sableye and Dugong did not get nerfed in any way. Defense Deoxys counter got nerfed, and all counter users are just nerfed into oblivion here. None of them top the top 100 with counter in the Great League. So the other options are, the only other fighters with a fighting type fast move is Machamp and Pangoro, but you can't do that because that would make you double weak to Fairy, and we expect to see an increase in Fairy, so you can't just substitute a fighter here. So the good news is that Sableye and Dugong are so strong anyways. I personally, if I was going to run the Sableye Dugong backline instead of going Defense Deoxys is here to deal with like rock and to deal with steel to a certain extent. I would just replace Defense Deoxys with, I was going to say a Mudboy. Mudboys are going to be a little interesting. So you could theoretically replace it with the Gastrodon and something like that. The problem with that is it makes you double weak to grass. So if you don't want to be in the position where you're like leading Gastrodon and you see a grass and then you're like, okay, I got to go either Sableye safe swap or at a bad matchup with Dugong where I'm already behind, you can lead Dugong and kind of go like ABA weak to grass. So if you see a grass on the lead, Dugong can just stay in with Ice Shard, Icy Wind, kind of play that matchup out. You still have Sableye as your safe swap in case you see like a fighter and stuff like that. And that's how you can get away with like replacing something there. Whilst Defense Deoxys' role is to still kind of deal with the rocks and steels. So you kind of replace something that can deal with the rocks and steels. But you can't just replace it with a fighter type because then you're double weak to Fairy. Gligar, Lantern, Charge Bug. So this was an, I was going to say ABB style team, double weak to because you're double electric in the back, but they do kind of play different roles. You are double weak to ground in the back, and Gligar will deal with the ground, so there is that from that perspective. But you're using Water Gun Lantern here, so that is much different than your Spark Lantern. It plays a really different role because then it flip matchups like Gligar, it flip matchups like the Mud Boys and stuff like that. You didn't flip the Mud Boy matchup, but you did like way better against the Mud Boys and stuff like that. So the double electric team was kind of interesting because there was a lot of flyers, right? I talked about, Gligar was everywhere, Skarmory was everywhere, Mantine was everywhere. So having double electric was not a bad strategy. Having one as a water gun will help you offset like the double ground weakness you have in the back because water gun hits super effective against ground. And then you had Gligar, which was super strong. Can use this team next season? No. Gligar got a double nerf. Wing Attack and Dig got nerfed. Lantern Surf got nerfed. So you have 2 Pokemon that got nerfed. Charjabug did not get nerfed. It's funny because Charjabug kind of, I think, went down in the rankings a bit. And I think that's because there is, like, the top Pokemon are, like, Clodsire and Carbink, which are going to just, like, light you up. So Charge Bug from that perspective goes down, plus there's less going to be. Skarmory got nerfed. Anything with a wing attack that wasn't Gligar got nerfed. Empoleon's Steel Wing got nerfed. We're still waiting on the Metal Claw to see if it's a 1 buff or 2, so we'll see with that, because that may bring something like Ferrothorn and Empoleon back, so that would make it Charge Bug better, but we'll see. So with this team, I don't think I run like any variation. I just kind of would scrap it all together. Swampert, Umbreon, Skarmory. So this is like the oldest team in the book. It's a very balanced team. Swampert, Skarmory was the oldest core in the book. They balance each other out. Umbreon as your safe swap. Skarmory, Steel Wing just got nerfed. So, and Sky Attack got nerfed. So double nerf on Skarmory. Down it goes. That old super core of Mudboy and Skarmory cannot be used because your Mudboys also got nerfed. There's still like Quagsire. Mudboys still have play. Mudshot got nerfed, but a lot of these Mudboys still have spammy enough charge moves that it's still okay. Umbreon, I think we may see an uptick in Umbreon, honestly, because you have overall less fighters. You only have a couple fighters you need to worry about, Pangoro and Machamp, but otherwise you don't need to worry about the abundance of counter users we used to have. So less counters. Fairy, we may see an increase in Fairy because there's more Fairy Wind users. But also I said, if you watch my hour recap, I said I expect more Ghosts in this season to deal with all the fighters. So if there's more Ghost, Umbreon's going to obviously have a great play there. Like I said, less fighters. I still think there'll be more fairies just because of like the steel nerfs and the fairy buff. So it's kind of a tough one. But again, if you're going to run Umbreon, just run it with 2 things. So again, you can't really run this core anymore. You could run... No, you can't even run that because the only other usable flyer right now, if you want to do like a flyer, again, Mudboy's only weak to grass. So you deal with that by running a flyer, which resists the grass, or a dragon, which resists the grass. But both of those are weak to fairy, so that would make you double weak. So you'd have to replace Umbreon as well. So again, this is one of the teams where you can't really run straight up or replace here. This one was best flyer, one of the best steals, and best electric. Charge Bug, Gligar, and Empoleon. I've already talked about how Charger are... So the team works because they all kind of cover each other's weakness. Empoleon weak to fighting, 2 answers to fighting. Gligar weak to ice, you have Empoleon for ice. Charge Bug didn't have a problem with rock, you have Empoleon. And so like the team worked. I already talked about Charge Bug, I already talked about Gligar. Empoleon's Steel Wing is getting nerfed. Now it has Metal Claw. So pvpoke is assuming of one up buff to Metal Claw, which does not make Empoleon or Ferrothorn relevant. However, if Niantic comes back and says, we're going to buff Metal Claw by 2, kind of like they did the Spark the first time, where we're like, oh, you just buff Spark. So if they buff Metal Claw by 2 in the pvpoke rankings, it actually goes to number 1 because it's even better than Steel Wing. So I can't talk about Empoleon yet because we need to see how much that nerf, I'm sorry, how much that buff is, if it's a 1 or a 2. So just keep that in mind if you are thinking about Empoleon in the future. Talked about Charge Bug, Annihilate, counter users. Like, I get nerfing counter because it was such a dominating fast move. And Medi and Annihilate were everywhere, and Defenseoxys was there and stuff like that. I get it. And Poliwrath. But man, the effects on all those other counter users, I feel so bad for like your Surfetched and your Toxicroak and all those other counter users that are just unusable. Annihilate dropped from like number 3 ranking to like 140 something. That's how much this counter nerf affected it. Now, Annihilate on this team was the only thing weak to Fairy. So in this one, you could theoretically replace Annihilate with Machamp or Pangoro and get away with it, right? Because you have the Charge Bug weak to rock and stuff, and that's where your Machamp and Pangoro come into play overall. So if you wanted to run this team, Charge Bug stays the same, Azumarill stays the same, replace Annihilate with Machamp or Pangoro, and I think you can get away with it, especially that Pangoro is half dark. You can have Night Slash. Sorry, my kids are jumping around upstairs. And then Machamp also has like either Stone Edge or a Pain Back or a Rock Slide. You have options for your second move. Clodsire. So remember when I talked about the first team saying you can run Dugong and Sableye and just run a Mudboy. Or if you don't want to run a Mudboy to make double weak to grass, you run Clodsire. And it's the new #1 Pokemon in the thing. Replace Mudshot with Poison Sting. Look at that. You got a dominating team. So Dugong, Sableye, Poison Sting, Clodsire. Chalk it up for the next season. I know which team I'm going to be throwing in the top teams for the new season because this one will work very well. You got bulk on all three. You got safety in Dugong and Sableye. You got the new #1 Pokemon with Clodsire, which has a Poison Sting buff. You got Sableye weak to Fairy, but then you got the Clodsire as the poison to deal with that. You got the safe, like, you got it. You got everything here. RIP. So Mantine, Goodra, Vigoroth. And this was... So Mantine... So let's just start with Vigoroth, actually. Vigoroth got triple nerfed. Counter, Body Slam, Rock Slide, all got nerfed. So it's done. Like, get it out of here. You can't use it. Goodra staying the same. The Dragons, again, we need to see how the Dragons play out because there will be more fairies in this meta. So we'll see how the Dragons play out there. Mantine got nerfed with the wing attack. And Mantine was, again, there's now, outside of Mandibuzz, there's like no, I think there's a couple in like the 75 range, like Talonflame and Galarian Moltres, but like everything that had wing attack is now below 100. And that's how much like these one point nerfs really affected. So Mantine had the bulk, had the spamminess of Aerial Ace, not a ton of electrics in the meta, and now it's gone. So can you run this exact same team? Nope, we're not even going to try and replace 2 Pokemon. You might as well just scrap it and go on to the next one. Okay, this was an AB. I'll talk about this team because for this one, but obviously it's a scrap ABB style team. Double weak to fighting and electric in the back. Dugong is your safe swap. Safe swap Dugong. Try and draw out Annihilate this season or Fighter or an electric. Beat it with Gligar and Polion roams free. That is how you run this ABB style team. And I've already gone over all 3 about the effects for next season. This one was what I called my only consistent Great League team this season. I mean, it's a completely new meta, so I can find new consistency in the new meta. But this is the only team that I was consistent with. It's basically a balanced team with a safe swap, Swampert weak to grass, Charjabug will deal with the grass, Lickitung is your safe swap. You got bulk in the back, you got spamminess, hard hitting on Swampert. So I like the team. I did consistently well with this team. Already talked about Swampert getting nerfed. Already talked about Charjabug being okay. Lickitung got nerfed with the Body Slam. Licky has jumped up to the top instead of Lickitung. So could you theoretically just replace Lickitung with Licky? Yeah, and like if Swampert's dropped a little bit more, Quagsire's still like a top 15 Pokemon. So you could theoretically just run Quagsire, Licky, Charjabug. That could be a way to keep the same concept of this team but go forward. The thing is, when I talk about like you can do this to replace these Pokemon, yes, it makes sense. Of course you can replace Swampert with Quagsire, and Quagsire is still rated high. Of course you can replace Lickitung with Licky, and Licky's rated super high next season. Will this team work in the new meta is the question, because we haven't seen the new meta in action yet. So I still think it probably does because you still have enough coverage on everything here, right? Poison, you would see an increase in poisons. Swampert deals with that. Fighters, Charjabug will deal with the fighters. And then like Licky and Swampert are just decent overall. And so it's Charjabug, right? Let's be honest. And this one was I was going to call it a triple ghost team, but it's a double ghost team, but Shadowclaw also on Sandslash, but they are running Bubble and Jellicent. Anything nerfed here? Surf on Jellicent. I mean, these are one of the things where it's like the Niantic has thoughts of like, we want to nerf this Pokemon, let's attack this move, but they don't think about all the residual effects, or they do, but they just don't care. So Jellicent Surf got nerfed. Basically, they were attacking Lantern because Lantern was so strong. So they nerfed Surf, and now Pokemon like Jellicent and everything else that uses Surf, Tapu Fini, they will take the residual effects as well. So Jellicent a little less strong with the Surf nerf. Does it have Astonish or is it still got to run Hex? I forget off the top of my head if it has Astonish or not. But I don't think it'll be as usable. I do think Ghosts will rise. So if you still want to run a double Ghost team with Sableye as one, I think Trevenant's going to be extremely useful. You got like Runerigus out there. You got Marowak if you want a Fire Ghost. So I do think Ghosts are going to be strong next season. We just got to figure. I don't know which one's going to rise to. I know Marowak because it's got that Fire combo that can also deal with like the fairies. So I think Marowak's going to be strong. I just don't know what other Ghost is going to rise to the top. Plus Ghost resists poison too, right? So it's got a nice combo there. So those are the teams for the next season. Sorry, no, those are the teams for this season with talking about potential options for next season. We'll do this again for Ultra League this afternoon. I was going to say 1 week, but they made it weird this season because 1 week should end it on the Friday, the 30th. Oh, sorry. Usually they go to the 1st and start the season on the 1st, which is a Sunday. But they're postponing it to like Tuesday the 3rd or something. You go back and read the initial. Actually, I got it open right here. I don't have it open right here, but let me just open it up. Let me throw it up on the screen just so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. But we are looking at the last week, Great League, Ultra League, Match League. And as you can see, August 23rd to September 3rd is when the season goes till. So it's kind of a weird one. It's an extended week. So you basically have the normal 7 days, and then you have an extra 31st, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And because it says it ends on September 3rd, I'm guessing the new season will start on the afternoon of the 3rd, which is a Tuesday here. I guess it's a Tuesday everywhere. Well, how far in advance is New Zealand, Australia? But yeah, right now we're looking at potential season turnover September 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Now, whether that was just a mistake, like an Niantic not checking, or whether this was done deliberately, I don't know. I know you may question, like, why are they doing that? Here in Canada, and I'm not sure about the US, but here in Canada, it is a long weekend. So everyone in Canada, I'm pretty sure everyone in Canada, or like most people in Canada, have the Monday, September 2nd off. So if it's also a long weekend in the United States, and people are gone, they're not going to want to launch this thing on the Sunday, the 1st of a long weekend. That's my only thought. Because same thing here, I'm off, we get Monday off, and then we're back on Tuesday. And here in Canada, Tuesday, Wednesday is when school starts as well. So like everything is back up into like running here as of September 3rd. And I'm guessing that's the reason why it's September 3rd. But just keep that in mind. You have a few extra days to grind to Legend if you want to hit Legend. Anyways, that is it. Good luck on your push. Please send me some videos if you are running to Legend or hit Legend and you want me to review. If not, I'll use the few that I have left in the submissions. I have not played since I hit Legend. I hit Legend. I got my non-shiny Pika Libre, and I haven't played since in a week and a half, and I don't think I'm going to play until the new season. There's no point. So once I hit Legend, I was like, I'm good. That new season, I'm going to test out so many Pokemon. Beyond the Hype's coming out the wazoo. You guys are going to see a ton of them. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.